It was just after 9 a.m. when Thomas stepped into the cafe on Jefferson and 8th. The bell above the door jingled, drawing a quick glance from the barista and the few early patrons. His coat was faded, edges fraying. His jeans were stiff with wear. A beanie covered most of his silver hair. He walked with a quiet shuffle, like someone used to moving unnoticed. The warmth of the shop wrapped around him, and he paused near the entrance. Not to cause trouble, just to get out of the cold. His hands stayed deep in his coat pockets. He scanned the room and moved toward the table in the far corner, the one near the window where the morning light pooled onto the floor. He didn't order, didn't sit right away, just stood, like someone waiting for something. Behind the counter, Lily, barely 21, whispered something to her coworker. Then she stepped out from behind the espresso machine and approached him. Her smile was thin. "Sir, can I help you?" Thomas looked up slowly. His voice, when it came, was soft but clear. "No, thank you. Just warming up for a minute." Lily hesitated. The policy was clear. No loitering. Her eyes darted to his shoes, cracked leather soles peeling, then back to his face. "We do ask that customers order something if they'd like to stay." Thomas nodded once. Understandable. She waited, hoping he'd take the hint and leave. He didn't. Instead, he reached into his coat. Not fast, not sudden, just calmly. His hand moved slowly, fingers brushing past a folded pair of gloves before pulling out a worn leather wallet. Not bulky, not new, just old, used, familiar. He opened it with care, like it held something more than bills and cards. From one of the inner sleeves, he slid out a thin, neatly folded piece of paper, yellowed slightly, but crisp at the creases. He unfolded it, placed it flat on the table, and smoothed it gently with the palm of his hand. Lily shifted her weight, uneasy. She'd expected a few coins, maybe a tattered dollar bill. "Not this. I'm not here to cause trouble," Thomas said. "I've just been walking a long time. Needed a moment." She glanced toward her coworker behind the register, who gave a shrug like, "What do you want me to do?" The shop was quiet, save for the hum of the fridge and the occasional hiss from the coffee machine. Lily stepped closer, her voice lowering. "You can stay, sir. But please, if someone complains." "I won't be here long," he said. "Just needed to see the place again." That gave her pause. "See it again?" He didn't answer, just looked out the window. The morning sun reflected faintly off the glass. Outside, people passed by, coffee in hand, earbuds in, eyes forward. Inside, Thomas stood still, not fidgeting, not begging, just waiting quietly. Then he did something Lily didn't expect. He turned the paper around and slid it toward her. "Since you asked," he said. Lily leaned in to read, her brow furrowed. Then her lips parted, just slightly, as she processed what it said. The title was clear, printed at the top in bold, Deed of Ownership. And right below that, Jefferson and 8th Holdings, LLC. Owner Thomas A. Greer. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. He nodded once, gently. "This place, it's mine." Lily stepped back almost instinctively. She stared at the paper like it might change if she blinked enough times. The register beeped behind her as another customer placed an order, oblivious. Her coworker called out a name for a cappuccino, glancing over but not yet aware of what was happening. Thomas didn't say anything else. He just stood there, hands relaxed at his sides, the morning light making the paper glow faintly where it caught the sun. Lily looked up at him again. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "You own the building?" He gave a small nod. "And the two next to it." She swallowed. Her mind raced, thinking about how she'd approached him, how certain she'd been. I didn't know. I figured," Thomas replied. Not angry, not smug, just stating a fact. She took another step back, bumping lightly into a stool. "I'm sorry. I just thought. I know what you thought." He said it plainly. No judgment, no heat in his tone. That made it worse somehow. Behind her, her coworker finally noticed the shift. "Everything okay?" Lily didn't answer right away. She just looked at Thomas, then back at the paper, then at her own shoes. "I think you should tell the manager," she murmured. Thomas smiled softly. "She'll be here soon." He turned back toward the window, the paper still on the table, untouched. Outside, the city moved as if none of this had happened. But inside, something had already changed. 10 minutes later, the front door swung open with the confident jingle of someone who didn't rush for anyone. Olivia, mid-30s, espresso-colored suit, phone in one hand, clipboard in the other, strode in with her usual purposeful pace. Lily practically jumped from behind the counter. Olivia, can I talk to you for a sec? Olivia didn't break stride. Make it fast. I've got inventory to review and a call with the supplier in 20. Lily glanced toward the corner table, lowered her voice. It's about the man in the back. He says he owns the building. That made Olivia stop. She turned, finally noticing Thomas. From this distance, he looked like any of the dozens who wandered in from the street, looking for warmth or Wi-Fi. She frowned. What do you mean he says he owns the building? He showed me a deed, Lily said, nodding toward the table. It looks real. It's got his name. Jefferson and 8th Holdings. Olivia squinted, then walked over, heels tapping sharply, posture straightening. She reached the table, looked down, and froze. Thomas glanced up, calm. Morning. Olivia didn't respond immediately. Her eyes scanned the paper, then flicked up to his face. I'm Olivia Tran. Manager here. I know, Thomas said. I hired the company that owns the cafe. I've read the reports. A beat of silence. I wasn't expecting anyone to know who I was. Didn't plan to say anything. But your staff, he paused, glancing toward the counter, they made it hard to stay quiet. Olivia straightened. You should have introduced yourself. I was going to, he said, folding the paper calmly. But I wanted to see how I'd be treated without the title. Behind them, Lily watched. Her face had gone pale. Olivia folded her arms, her expression caught between defense and calculation. Look, Mr. Greer, if that's accurate, no one meant any disrespect. Thomas tucked the deed back into his wallet. Disrespect doesn't always need intention. Sometimes it just needs habit. Lily stood frozen behind the espresso machine. The coworker beside her had stopped pretending not to listen. Olivia cleared her throat. If you'd told us up front. I shouldn't have to, he said gently. That's the point. His tone never rose, never sharpened. That only made his words heavier, more difficult to deflect. Olivia faltered. She looked over at Lily, whose eyes dropped to the floor, then back at Thomas. I'll speak with the staff, Olivia said. Thomas nodded. Good. And maybe, he turned toward Lily, his gaze steady but not harsh, asked them why their first instinct was to move someone out, not ask if they were okay. Lily's throat tightened. She opened her mouth to speak but no words came. Thomas didn't push. He didn't need to. He stepped toward the exit, slow and deliberate. At the door, he paused, turned slightly. I'll be back next week for the inspection. Maybe I'll even buy a coffee then. Then he pushed open the door and left. The bell jingled. The warmth stayed behind. The door shut behind him, but no one moved. Lily stared at the floor. Her coworker finally stepped away from the register, wiping non-existent crumbs off the counter just to break the silence. Olivia remained near the corner table, her arms still crossed but looser now. Less certain. Did you know? Lily asked quietly, not looking up. No, Olivia replied. But I should have. She walked slowly back to the counter, the usual clack of her heels sounding dull now. Go take 5, she said to Lily, voice lower than usual. Lily nodded, moving toward the back without a word. The door to the staff area clicked softly shut. Behind the counter, the espresso machine hissed. A new customer entered, looked around at the unusually still cafe, then walked up to place an order. Black coffee, he said. Large? The coworker started the machine, avoiding Olivia's eyes. Outside, Thomas crossed the street slowly, his coat fluttering in the breeze. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Inside, something had shifted and it wasn't going to shift back easily. Lily sat in the back room on a folding chair, elbows on her knees, face in her hands. The break room was quiet except for the buzz of the old refrigerator and the tick of the wall clock that always ran 3 minutes slow. She replayed every second of that exchange. His face. His voice. The way he hadn't raised it, hadn't even flinched. That stung more than if he had. Olivia entered a moment later, the door swinging shut behind her with a soft thud. She didn't sit. I'm not here to scold you, she said. Lily didn't look up. I'm here because I know that look, Olivia continued. Because I've worn it. That made Lily glance up just slightly. I once told a man in a wrinkled coat not to block the hallway at my old job, Olivia said. Turned out he was the regional director. I learned the same way you just did. Lily gave a weak laugh. He tell you off? No. He just looked at me. Same as he looked at you. The silence stretched. I didn't think, Lily started. You did, Olivia said gently. You just didn't think all the way through. Lily closed her eyes. I want you to stay, Olivia added. But I want you to decide what that means. For how you see people. For how you represent this place. Lily nodded slowly. Outside, customers chatted over coffee, unaware of the shift happening behind the walls. But for those who worked there, things were no longer the same. Word got around faster than expected. By lunchtime, 3 employees who hadn't even been on shift that morning knew what happened. One said, "He's the owner?" Like he was still trying to believe it. Another just muttered, "Damn," and shook his head. No official memo went out, but Olivia didn't need one. By 2 p.m., the staff was quieter, more careful. Even customers noticed. The usual laughter and loud greetings were dialed back. The energy had changed, not panicked, just thoughtful. At the register, Lily took orders with a kind of focus she hadn't had before. She listened more closely. She asked if people wanted room in their cup before assuming. No one mentioned Thomas by name, but his presence lingered, especially in the corner. The table near the window stayed empty most of the day, as if no one quite wanted to sit there. When Olivia came out of the office for her afternoon check-in, she noticed it too. A customer paused near the table, glanced at it, then chose a different seat. Olivia didn't say anything. She just looked at the chair he'd sat in and exhaled. There were no nameplates or plaques, no reserved signs, but somehow everyone knew that seat meant something now. The next morning, before the cafe opened, Olivia found a thin manila envelope slipped under the front door. No return address, just her name, handwritten in firm, clear strokes. She picked it up, set it on the counter, and opened it slowly. Inside was a short typed note on letterhead from Jefferson and 8th Holdings. It was from Thomas. No accusations, no demands, just this: "Thank you for your time yesterday. I meant what I said. I'll return next week. I'd appreciate a conversation then. In the meantime, enclosed are copies of the original building purchase and tenant agreement, including the cafe's lease terms. I thought it might help for you to know who you're representing. No hard feelings, just clarity." Below that were the documents: deed, lease contracts, some tax filings. Legitimate, precise. Olivia stood there for a moment, the folder in her hand, the cafe still dim around her. She set it on her clipboard and walked to the corner table, the one he'd stood beside. She placed the envelope there, just for a second. Then she sat. It was the first time she'd done that since the place opened 2 years ago. And for the first time, she didn't sit as a manager. She sat to listen. By noon, business was steady again. Drinks slid across the counter, orders were called, tables filled. But the envelope remained on the corner table, untouched, unread by anyone else. Lily saw it first when she came out from her break. She paused, a question in her eyes. Olivia just nodded once. From him. Lily didn't ask what was inside. She didn't need to. By mid-afternoon, a woman in a navy blazer sat briefly at the corner table, sipping a chai while scrolling through her phone. She didn't notice the envelope, or maybe she did and didn't care. But when she left, she wiped the table with a napkin before standing. Lily saw that too. It was subtle, but it mattered. That table had gone from overlooked to something else, almost like a quiet monument. Not because anyone said so, but because something had been revealed there. Later, a delivery guy dropped off supplies and leaned across the counter, joking with Lily like usual. She smiled, but it was more restrained now, less automatic. She handed him a receipt, then paused. "You ever judge someone before you know their story?" she asked. He blinked. "Sure. I mean, don't we all?" She nodded slowly. "Yeah, but I think I'm done doing that now." He didn't press, just gave a small, respectful nod and left. Some lessons don't need announcements, just repetition. That evening, near closing, an older man in a weathered coat entered the cafe. Not Thomas. Someone else. Thinner. Slower. Shoes worn past comfort. He moved cautiously, scanning the place like he wasn't sure if he was allowed in. Lily was wiping down the front counter. Olivia was checking inventory in the back. The only other customer was a young guy in headphones, typing fast on a laptop. The man hesitated near the door. Then, just as he turned to leave, Lily called out, "Evening. You want something warm?" He froze, turned. His eyes were tired, but kind. "I don't have money." "That's okay," she said. "Sit. I'll bring you something." He blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. "Really?" She nodded toward the corner table. "You can sit there." He looked at the chair, then slowly made his way over. He lowered himself into the seat like he expected someone to stop him. No one did. Lily brought over a small black coffee and a plain bagel. She didn't lecture, didn't stare, just set it down gently and said, "Let me know if you need anything else." He looked up, eyes glistening. "Thank you. People usually—" "I know," she said. She walked away. Behind her, the envelope still sat on the manager's clipboard, folded neatly, and the table stayed quiet, but full. By the time Olivia returned to the front, She noticed the older man sipping his coffee, both hands wrapped around the cup like it was the first warmth he'd felt all day. She raised an eyebrow at Lily, who simply said, "He's fine." I offered. Olivia didn't respond immediately. She watched the man for a moment, then gave a small nod. They didn't need a new policy written up. Not yet. Some things were clearer when lived than written. The cafe's mood had changed, subtly but noticeably. Staff who once nudged strangers toward the door now paused, checked, asked. Not out of fear, out of awareness. One customer left a $5 bill next to the register without ordering anything. Just tapped the counter and said, "For the next person who needs it." Lily picked it up and tucked it under the tip jar, separate. Olivia noticed and didn't say a word. Later, a regular, the man with the short beard who always ordered oat milk, asked if something had happened. "You guys seem different." Lily smiled faintly. "We're just paying attention." He nodded slowly, like he didn't fully understand, but could tell something mattered. And it did, because a shift had started. Not loud, not obvious, but real. A week later, just after 9 a.m., the bell above the door jingled again. Thomas walked in. Same coat, same calm. This time, he carried a slim folder under one arm and nodded toward Olivia, who was restocking mugs behind the counter. She noticed immediately, set the mugs down, smoothed her apron and walked over. "You came back," she said. "I said I would." They stood near the same table, but this time no one stared. No one whispered. Lily stepped out from the back, spotted him, and gave a quiet nod. He returned it. That was enough. Olivia gestured to the table. "Can we talk now?" Thomas glanced around. "We can." They sat. She didn't try to explain. She didn't start with excuses. She listened. He opened the folder, pulled out a short proposal, minor layout changes, a plan for staff training on inclusivity and customer service. He slid it across to her. Simple things, but meaningful. She read it quickly, then looked up. "We'll do all of it." "I believe you," Thomas said. No handshake, no ceremony, just agreement. A moment later, Lily brought over a coffee and placed it in front of him. Black, no questions asked. Thomas gave a slight smile. "On the house." Lily hesitated. "No. This one's with respect." He nodded. That was better. The day unfolded like any other, but with a subtle difference no one could quite name. Customers lingered longer. Conversations at tables were softer, more present. The air felt lighter, as if a weight had lifted even though most never saw it there. Thomas stayed for an hour. He didn't do anything grand, just sat, sipped his coffee, and watched the morning play out. He observed the way Lily treated the older man who wandered in asking for water. The way Olivia spoke to a delivery driver like an equal, not a nuisance. He watched as someone chose the corner table, glanced at him, then hesitated. Thomas nodded toward the seat. "Go ahead." The young man blinked, then smiled. "Thanks." He took the seat, not knowing what it meant last week, but feeling what it meant today. As Thomas stood to leave, he placed a folded napkin under his empty cup. Olivia noticed it after he walked out. She opened it. One line was written in neat, small print. "Culture isn't what you claim, it's what you tolerate." She folded it slowly and tucked it into her pocket. Not as a reminder, as a standard. The weeks passed, and the story of that morning faded from conversation, but not from memory. Staff meetings shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. Olivia began each one with a question instead of a checklist. "How did we show respect this week?" At first, people fumbled for answers. Then they started coming prepared. The envelope, the one Thomas left, stayed in the office. Not filed away, not forgotten. Just there, visible. A quiet witness. Lily changed too. Not just in how she spoke to customers, but in how she listened. Her shifts weren't shorter, but they felt lighter. She no longer watched the door to guard it. She watched it to greet. Some customers noticed. Some didn't. But that wasn't the point. One afternoon, the young man who'd taken the corner table returned. This time, he held the door open for a woman struggling with a stroller. He ordered a tea, left a tip, sat in the same seat. Before leaving, he tapped the counter. "Hey, who was that guy who sat here before?" Lily looked over. Her voice was calm. "Someone who reminded us who we are." He nodded like that made sense. And it did. Because by then, the lesson wasn't about ownership. It was about presence. About how people carry weight even in stillness. and how sometimes change walks in quietly, takes a seat, and leaves something behind that never really leaves at all.